Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to make money in the market or to just learn from the market, right? So let me go ahead and give my disclaimer, y'all. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth in the stock market. It's just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, let's get started. Y'all, today is going to be an interesting day, right? We have a lot of economic information coming out today. Fed Powell is going to give his information today. So today's going to be a great day, right? We can make money in either direction. Just don't get caught on the wrong side of that trade. Not financial advice. Let me go ahead and say that, right? So we are looking at the VIX, and the VIX is climbing. It is making higher highs, higher lows, and that means the SPY should be declining, going down. So we know that we had trouble here at the 1755 on 425. So the VIX could very well come back and retest the 1755, which will in turn send the SPY to the downside. Right now, the VIX is above the 5 EMA at the 1604, which is the 5 EMA. But we're finding support right here above the 200 EMA, which is interesting, at the 1612 area. So I would say it looks like the VIX broke out of this area to the upside, which brought the SPY to the downside. And again, that was the 1 hour chart. Where are our trouble places for the VIX as of right now? We have 1702, 1755, 1790. Or 1790. I would watch those areas. If we break above this 1803, we could very well come back to the $19 range for the VIX, which will, send the SPY again back to the downside. So let's go look at the SPY right now. It seems as if the SPY have been trading in this zone. Y'all know I like to go to the 30-minute chart and I look at my 4-hour candle to see how we've been trading. So right now the support is at 499.65. The resistance is at $500.45, right? That's our zone. That's our gathering spot. That's where most of our candles are gathered or have been gathered since 4 a.m. And right now, the SPY is under the 5 EMA, but we have tested this 545 before and made a high of 565. So it's kind of a small, we're trading in a very small range. So whatever move we make could be a strong move up or a strong move down. Don't count it out just because we sold off yesterday that it can't continue to the downside, because it very well can. So right now, $500.90 or 590 is our 20 EMA, looking at it on this 30-minute chart. And we're going to have trouble at this ATR trailing stop, which is at 501.71. So if by chance the SPY break this 501.99 area, and I have that marked here, if we break this area, then we could very well come back to the 502.82, which is the 50-day EMA, again on the 30-minute chart. So the 200 EMA is at 505.51. So to the upside, our resistance areas for the SPY at this point is 589, 501.71, 502.82, 505.51, and that's looking at this 30-minute chart. We are in that gathering spot, but we're going to have trouble trying to get back to the upside at those places. So looking at it on this 1 hour chart, we are again under the 5 EMA. Our 5 EMA is at $500.30. So that is our trouble place. If we get above that, we could very well break through, to some of those other places of resistance. However, we are under that place, and it looks like it wants to continue down, but it needs to break under that 499.65. So I would be careful if I traded this SPY or anything today, because the news information can come out and it could be a whipsaw, up, down, sideways, So be very, very careful. Again, trouble places for the SPY is the 508.54 on this 4-hour chart. That's the 200 EMA, and I'm coming down with this one. The 20 EMA, is at 505.11. The 50 EMA is at 505.42, which is kind of close to the other ranges that we talked about, 501.78. So the SPY would need to break above this, 545, and know that I'm going to have trouble at 501.90 area. So those are places that I need to watch the SPY to the upside if I'm trading SPY. Now let's talk about the downside, because it could very well go back to the downside. If we break this 499.65, we could very well come down to the 498.25 or the 497.45 47. Those are areas of support that I've had marked, or resistance that I've had marked before. And if by chance we break that 497.47, we can fall all the way back down to the 493.57. I'm not saying that that is possible today, or we may do that today. Well, let me say anything is possible. SPY moves normally about $6.82 per day, and we are right here looking at it on this daily chart. If we by chance break this 493, you see we can come all the way back down to this 200 EMA at the 474.29. So that is interesting to see. So if you trade the SPY, I always say trade carefully. Right now, our support area is 499.65. Resistance is at $500.45. We are going to have trouble at the 591, 502.83 and the 505.52 to the upside. So let's look at Tesla. Tesla is always interesting in my opinion, because Tesla was just at $190 something and now it's come back down to 178, which is not surprising for me, right? So right now our gathering spot for Tesla is at 178.03, and our resistance is at 179.56. So support is at 178.03, resistance around 179.56. But as you can see, we're trying to break out of this area, right? Tesla closed at 183.28, and we came down and tested 178. So we are under the previous day's close, so that's something to be mindful of. We can come back up to this 20 EMA, which is at 181.20, get rejected and come back down, or break through. Either direction, anything is possible. So our next trouble place is at 183.11, which is the 50 EMA, looking at it on this 30-minute chart, and the ATR trailing stop is at 184.07. So those are our resistance areas to the upside for Tesla. That's 181.19 and 183.10. Plus the 184.07. So those are the three trouble places that I see as of right now for Tesla. We are trying to find support on this 5 EMA. So we need to stay above 179.86 for Tesla. Because if we hold on this, right, which is right at the 5 EMA on the 1 hour chart and very close to the 50 on the 1 hour chart. So that we need to be careful in this area, because if the 5 and the 50 cross to the upside, we can go up, or if it crosses to the downside, we can move down. So Tesla has trouble looking at it on this 1 hour chart at the 182.83 area and the 188.83. So 182.83, 188.83 are trouble places to the upside, meaning that's resistance for Tesla. Trouble places, what I like to say. Keep in mind, Tesla does have a gap to fill, to the downside, and that shaded area is where you see a gap fill, and that's around the 158 down to the 147. Anything is possible today. Don't rule it out. Don't think that it can't go to that place, because just when you think it can't, it shows you that it can. Looking at it on this, and I need to clean my charts. Looking at it on this 4 hour chart, we are under the 5 EMA, but we did come and test this 20 EMA and bounced off of that. So that 178.77, which is right there, that 178.28 area, we need to watch this area, because if Tesla, and that's why I have an alert set it, if Tesla breaks this area, we could very well come back down to 174.41, which is the ATR trailing stop, looking at it here on this 4 hour chart. So Tesla can move in either direction, upside or downside. Keep in mind, if we break this 178.26 area, 178.28 area, we can come back to the the 168, 165 area. And if we come back to that area, I definitely see the 160.51. I have that as strong support, 160.51. So just keep those areas in mind. If you trade Tesla, y'all, I always say trade carefully, because the market does what it does. It gives you what it gives you, right? So we did have an inside day candle, which is Disney. Disney, if it breaks above 112.04, then the target is 113.88. If it breaks below 110.80, then the target is 110.34. And right now we are trading in this gathering spot here. As support, we have 110.84, 110.80 as support, and our resistance is 111.12. So if you trade Disney, just be mindful of, right now the support is at 110.80. If we break down under this, which we came down here at 5 o'clock, then this is our target to the downside, 110.34, and it can move in either direction. Let me say that. So AMD, if you trade AMD, that's interesting. If you trade AMD was trading in a gathering spot here. It hit a high of 162.58, and that was on 430, and we came down like a really bad down. Came down to 143.90, and we've been trading in this area here at the 147.14, and I would say to about the 148.89 is our gathering spot. I would watch AMD in that area because that's where it actually broke out of, came up, got rejected, came back down. Price came all the way up to this 157, only to come back down to this area of 148, 149 area. So with AMD, the gathering spot is, let me mark this color. The gathering spot is at the 147.14 and then the 148.89. So I will watch that area because that's where price is or has come back to. I always say price always comes back to the demand zone, right? So right now, our trouble places for AMD was at the 150.49, 154.48, and the 155.67. Those are places that we need to watch to the upside. And we came and tested that, but as you can see, the price came all the way back down to this area of the gathering spot. So again, if you trade AMD, trade carefully. We are resting at that 147.14. If we break below that, we can come back down to the 143.90, which is here. And we have tested, I think, that 145. Yeah, AMD is trading interesting. It did report earnings, so I am seeing that may be the move. That's the reason. It looks like that's the reason for this move. So again, I always say, y'all, trade carefully. Don't get caught on the wrong side. Set your stop losses, or if your trade is going against you, get out. It's best to live to trade another day. Again, trading AMD, it is moving. It was trading in a gathering spot. It broke out, came back down to the gathering spot. 147.14, 148.89 is our trouble places, or our area of the gathering spot. And AMD looks as if it moves. Let's see. That number changes. It's interesting how it changes, but it moves $6.18 per day. And looking at it on this daily chart, it seems as if we came up, tested this 20 EMA, only to get rejected, to come back down. So support on the daily is at 156.99. We need to definitely watch those areas. So if you trade AMD, trade carefully, allow your charts to lead you. And Google, I put on my chart because on my list today, because it has a gap that need to be filled to the downside. So if it breaks below the 162.65, I need to watch that for a gap to the downside. And let's see where. Yes, and these, you can see this white dotted line and this dotted line. It tells me that there's a gap that needs to be filled. So Google can come down and fill that gap, considering we're already under that total and that amount, and we have been creating a gathering spot. Now it can come back to the upside and get rejected at the 164.92, or it can get rejected here at this 20 EMA at 164.14. So Google is interesting today. I added it to my list because it is in gap fill territory, is what I like to say. We can come down and fill that gap at 156.49, which will close that gap. And Google only moves at $1.68 per day on an average. We are almost about to rest at the 50 EMA at 162.05. So we can come on down, and if we break that, I can see coming down to fill the gap. So yeah, if you trade Google, if that's something that's on your list, that's interesting on the daily chart, how we came all the way up to here with earnings, and now we're making our way back to the downside. So yeah, I always like to find those places of gap fills, or places that will need to come back and fill a gap, because at some point, I may not can watch all of them, but I set my alert to let me know that we're kind of close to that area, and we can come back, and it's a place that I can go in and trade based on we're in gap fill territory. We're at that area. We're close to that area. But I always wait on second confirmations and third confirmations. Let me say that. That's MACD crossing, 5 and 50 crossing, higher highs, higher lows. I look for other things to help confirm why I am where I am. So we are looking at NVDA. NVDA 843.28 is support. 846.61 was resistance. We have broken past that to the above the 200 EMA, which is around 850.95, above 852.34, which is the 20 EMA, only to come test this 50 EMA at 859.94. So we have come up to this area. The high of this candle is around 864.14. I need to watch this because price can very well come back to this place. And I always like to mark that as like a pre-market high. When I see that, I know what it means. So where are our trouble places? We can come back again to this 864.14. ATR trail and stop is at 868.64. We can have trouble there. So I would watch NVIDIA. If I traded, NVIDIA today, I would say be careful. We were trading in a zone. We came up and tested this area for a reason. So to the upside, 868.64, 859.93, and 852.31 are going to be trouble places or resistance. If we should break below 843.28, and keep in mind anything is possible, right? We can come back and test this 840.80, which is this candle here. That something stopped it. That was a support area for NVIDIA. Or we can continue, to the downside. We have a gap fill. It has filled that gap. I was going to say we have a gap fill at 837, but it looks like it's already closed that. So yeah, if I trade NVIDIA, I would say watch the area of 840.91, because right now, looking at this 4 hour, that is our support. If by chance we break that, we can come back down to the 810.11, and NVIDIA moves $42.46 per day. It looks like it wants to come back to the downside based on what we're seeing here on the daily chart. And the 5 EMA is at 854 range. I would watch that area, because if we come 854.86, if we break this, then we can continue down, looking at it on this daily chart. So yeah, if you trade NVIDIA, I always say trade carefully, allow your charts to come to you, and not rush into your trade. So I'm going to do a little small recap, right? So we were looking at the SPY, and the SPY was trading in our gathering spot and still is. Support is at 499.65. Resistance is at 538. We are going to have some trouble to the upside. However, we can make it to the upside. Let me say that. So Tesla is trading, it came up and tested that 50 EMA, which is interesting. So our support for Tesla is at 178.28. Resistance was at 179.56. We have broken through that and above the 5 EMA. We are under the 20 EMA and got rejected at the 50 EMA. So we need to remember that that was a trouble place for us. We came up and tested that. So the next time we could very well break through that. So that's something to be mindful of with Tesla if you're trading Tesla. And I'm going to go back to the VIX the VIX is still moving to the upside. So yeah, Tesla is my favorite. As you can see, I always try to pay attention to what's going on in that area, in areas with Tesla. It's interesting that how the price has gone up and come down and trying to make its way back to the upside. So again, y'all, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. This is how I see the market. I just try to go in and find the places where I'm going to have trouble. And sometimes it's moving. I use the moving averages as support and or resistance in the ATR trail and stop. And I wait on other confirmations as to why I'm entering the trade. And when it goes against me, I get out. So yeah, one thing with trading we have to remember is not to get emotionally attached or hoping that it's going to do something. If it goes against you, get out and wait on another entry to get back in. So y'all, again, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. I hope that everyone has an awesome day today, a very profitable day today. And I always like to leave you with this, y'all. Be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.